Hey, my name is Michael Todoran, and this is a continuation of the development of opening up a firm. The firm is called Zanja Madre Studios, and this vlog is going to be more about the objective side of business. So as I'm learning a little bit more about the business side of things, I'm just going to kind of keep you up to date with what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing, and the path that I think that I'm going to go. So I met with an accountant, and her and I sat down and we talked about my options. And basically, I've been operating as a sole proprietorship right now, which I'm comfortable with, but not going to be comfortable with for too long. Just my other businesses that I've done, like the podcast and the photography work, the liability was pretty low for the podcast, maybe slander, but it's not like a hard-hitting podcast, so I don't think we're defaming anybody. That would be the only real kind of liability that I would see. And then for the photography, I haven't seen too much liability that would be a concern as of yet in regards to a shoot. If somebody was unhappy, which they never have been, I could give a refund or I could reshoot it. And I have reshot jobs just because I was unhappy with them, like lighting or fog or whatever. So sole proprietorship has been good up until now on my side hustle things. For the photography, as we go and take on larger jobs, we're going to have more responsibility once we start introducing drone work and I start bringing in people to collaborate, other photographers and assistants, and getting permits and maybe even closing down streets on some jobs. And definitely the liability is going to increase. So a bulk of the business of the studios is going to be landscape design work, which has a lot of liability in it. So the two options, sole proprietorship for me is not an option, and I think most people would agree. So the two options right now, the front runners, is a limited liability corporation known as an LLC, and an S corporation. Now there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Now I'm still learning all of this, but I think I could break it down a little bit. In regards to the LLC, which is the one that I'm leaning towards, the disadvantages are if you wanted people to have shares in it that were outside of the country, you can't do that. But I'm not at that point yet. I could always change the business model later. But really, it really seems like the way to go. There's some tax advantages as an S corporation, but if I am the sole owner of the LLC, which I will be for now, then I could file my taxes as an S corporation, or with the same advantages of an S corporation, which is still a little murky in my head, but I think that's the gist of it, and so I'm going to go with that. Now, other things that I have to kind of consider, or not kind of consider, things that I have to pay attention to is as I move forward, I'm going to be putting 30% away every time money comes in for taxes. Now, I think that's like a pretty conservative number that the accountant suggests that I do, which is a lot of money, right? Like 30% is pretty significant. So right now I could think of one job that I have that has a $12,000 fee, and we're breaking the fee structure up quarterly in quarters, so 3,000, 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. So I get one check that I've already received, which is a deposit of 3,000, and immediately I'm gonna have to put away 900. And that I just have to like mentally pretend that that does not exist. Also, and this is pretty obvious, but creating a separate bank account for the business and not letting any of the money interfere with my personal stuff. So I'll have to pay myself, and that's called a distribution. And then I think I even end up 1099ing myself, which is interesting. I'm still a little bit unclear about that, but I think that that's the way that it works. But my accountant will definitely help me with all of that when it comes. Now, because my business model right now is set up as a very collaborative business, so I'll be paying people and people will be paying me for services. So I think it's federal, or maybe it's just California, I'm pretty sure it's federal, the number is $600. So after I receive $600 for somebody, they're gonna 1099 me. And then if I pay anybody over $600, I'm going to 1099 them. And it's a form that you download through the IRS website, and you fill it out. I think I send them a W-9, and then they fill out the W-9, and then by January 31st, I believe, is when I have to do the paperwork, or the accountant will do the paperwork for all of the 1099s. Some of the realities are continuing to kind of sink in. Of course, the insurance, the liability insurance, and I'm gonna go beyond general just so I could have a softer pillow at night. I don't mind paying the extra for stronger insurance. And then the other realities of things sinking in is just all the little things, little expenses that are popping up. I needed a new mouse yesterday for the computer to do some AutoCAD work, and I can't just walk over to the IT department and say, hey, can I get a mouse? They're not expensive, but if you also consider it's like the drive time to Best Buy, going and getting it, I needed it that day, so I couldn't kind of go on Amazon, wait 1 or 2 days to get it. So it's little things like that you have to get used to when you're going on your own, and things are really fluid. That's it. One thing that I wanted to touch on about me doing these video series about what it's like opening up a firm and being really candid. I think that a lot of people don't like to talk about the money part of it. I think some people think it's uncouth. I don't. I think it's important that we as a community have a dialogue on what fees are, what to pay interns, what expected salaries are. I'm more in that mindset, and I hope that me talking about like money that I'm receiving, but money that I'm also going out, doesn't come across as garish or I'm a little bit concerned about that. I think I'm going to do it anyway because deep down I believe that it's important. And I think that if other people are going to be starting a firm, then, if they follow along and see what I'm going through and what I'm figuring out as I go, could be interesting. But I also think that if somebody is experienced and they have a firm and they're hearing me talk about my ideas and something is blatantly wrong or They could give a little bit of advice and say, hey, that's what I thought too early on, but it's more like this. I think that would be appreciated as well. I did turn off the comments on the YouTube channel. And the reason being is that I have a lot to worry about already. And so much of what I do is going to be very open and honest, and that exposes me to be very vulnerable. For the most part, like 99.9% of everything that I do, people tend to respond to very well and are very encouraging and supportive. But every now and then, somebody, especially online, if there's, if it's anonymous, can say something that's really sharp or stinging. And even though I'm open to feedback, I just have too much on my mind to let that put any weight in my head or give that any real estate. So I'm deliberately kind of restricting the comments on these videos, which I think is too bad. But it's part of me knowing myself as well. Like, I know my personality. I think I could say, oh, well, don't worry about it, or you don't have to read them, or pay it no mind or whatever. But I know myself. I'll read it and I'll think about it and I'll chew on it, and it'll just be real estate in my head that I'm just not going to give. But I do have my email address in the channel, and so if people want to have, I think that would be like a filter, right? So if somebody emails me and they have a gripe or whatever, then that's fine. I think it'll filter out just like the impulsive, any people that are being like, I don't know, snotty. But yeah, that's it. So that's the kind of the first objective type business vlog. Okay, all right. Zanzimadar Studios, Michael Todoran, I'm out.